Their feet can give them away in under 7 seconds before their brain even catches up. Somebody can smile, laugh at your joke, lean in close, and their feet are already pointed at the exit. So what's actually true, the mouth or the body? Let's find out. I'm Zara, and this is Zara Explains Love, your smartest friend on the psychology of the heart. Today, 7 body language signs that quietly reveal true feelings, because researchers say we leak emotional truth through the body in fractions of a second, way faster than words can catch up. Number 7, foot direction. Picture this. You're on a date, everything above the table looks great. Eye contact, smiling, nodding along. But glance under the table and their feet are angled toward the door, not toward you. Psychologists call this emotional leakage, the idea that the parts of the body furthest from the brain's conscious control, like feet and legs, are the hardest to fake. Your face is trained by a lifetime of social rules to perform politeness. Your feet never got the memo, so when someone's genuinely comfortable and into you, their feet tend to point your way, staying settled, sometimes gently mirroring your own position. When they're anxious, distracted, or ready to leave, the feet quietly aim toward the nearest exit, often without them noticing at all. Here's the kind thing to do with this. Don't treat it as a verdict. Treat it as a question. If you notice wandering feet, check in gently. Ask if they're comfortable, if they need anything, if the noise or the seat is bothering them. Sometimes it really is just a cold room, not cold feelings. Body language is a clue, never a courtroom. Number 6, pupil dilation. You're sitting across from someone under warm café lighting, and their eyes seem to widen the longer you talk. That's not romantic lighting playing tricks. Pupils genuinely expand when we're mentally and emotionally engaged, a response researchers call pupillary response to arousal. It's controlled by the autonomic nervous system, the same system running your heartbeat, meaning it's almost impossible to consciously control. Interest, attraction, even curiosity can trigger it. Picture a first date where the lighting is low and their eyes stay locked on yours, pupils wide, even as they talk about something totally unrelated like their coffee order. That's engagement talking, not just the dim room. The catch is that lighting itself changes pupil size too, so this sign only means something paired with everything else. Steady eye contact, leaning in, an open posture. Use it as one thread, not the whole story. What to actually do? Don't stare and analyze someone's eyes like a lab experiment. That just gets weird fast. Instead, notice the overall pattern of attention over the whole conversation. If someone's eyes and their attention keep returning to you across a full evening, that consistency tells you far more than any single dilated glance ever could. Number 5, mirroring. You take a sip of your drink, and a few seconds later, without thinking, they take a sip too. You cross your legs, they shift and cross theirs the same way. This is called the chameleon effect, first named by psychologists Tanya Chartrand and John Bargh, who found that people unconsciously copy the postures, gestures, and speech patterns of those they like and feel connected to. It's rooted in empathy. Mirroring activates some of the same brain circuitry as actually feeling what another person feels, which is part of why it builds rapport so effectively. Imagine a date where you lean forward to make a point, and a beat later, they lean forward too, almost like a delayed echo. That small, unconscious sync is a strong sign of comfort and connection. The absence of it matters too. If someone stays rigid, arms crossed, posture unmoved no matter how animated you get, that mismatch can signal distance rather than closeness. What to do with this? You can gently test it. Lean in a little, relax your shoulders, soften your energy, and watch what happens next. If they naturally follow, that's real rapport building in real time. If they don't force it. Give the moment room. Some people just warm up slower than others. Number 4, the eyebrow flash. You walk up to someone at a park bench, and for a split second, barely a quarter of a second, their eyebrows shoot up before settling back down. That's called the eyebrow flash, documented by ethologist Irenaeus Eibel Ibisfeld after filming greetings across dozens of different cultures. He found this exact flash showing up almost universally when people are pleasantly surprised to see someone, suggesting it's less learned behavior and more hardwired reflex. It happens too fast to fake convincingly, which is exactly what makes it valuable. Picture this. You show up 10 minutes late to a coffee date, apologizing before you even sit down, and you catch that flicker, up and down in a blink, right as they spot you walking toward them. That's a genuine little spark of gladness, even if the rest of their face stays composed out of politeness or nerves. Miss it, and you might read someone as cold who's actually just controlled. Here's the move. Pay attention in that very first second of a greeting, before anyone's had time to arrange their expression. If you catch the flash, relax. It's real information, a private little tell nobody consciously performs. And if you don't catch it, don't panic either. Plenty of genuinely happy people are just subtle. Quick question for you. When you're telling a story at dinner, does their gaze stay glued to your face the whole time? Or does it drift around the room? This one's less about a single gesture and more a full pattern, and it might be the most reliable sign on this list. Researchers studying social attention have found that where people let their focus rest, and for how long, tracks closely with how emotionally invested they are in a conversation. It's called sustained attentional focus. Genuine interest keeps the gaze anchored on you even during pauses, silences, the boring bits, not just the exciting parts. Picture a dinner where you're mid-story about your terrible commute, nothing thrilling about it, and they're still watching you. Not their phone glowing on the table, not the door, not other people walking by. That sustained, low-effort attention during the unremarkable moments is actually more telling than intense eye contact during a dramatic one, because anyone can perform interest for a highlight. Few people fake it through the dull parts. What to do? Stop watching for grand romantic gestures and start noticing the boring middle of your conversations. If someone's attention holds steady, even when nothing exciting is happening, that's a far stronger, quieter signal of real investment than any single loaded glance could ever give you. Number 2, self-soothing touches. Watch someone's hands during a slightly nerve-wracking date. Do they touch their own neck, twirl their hair, rub their wrist, adjust a sleeve? These are called self-soothing or self-comforting behaviors, and psychologists studying stress response found we do them to regulate our own nervous system when we're emotionally activated, whether that activation is anxiety or excitement, which can look remarkably similar on the outside. The key isn't whether the touch happens, almost everyone does it sometimes, it's the context around it. Picture someone across the table from you, laughing at your joke, and right after, their hand drifts to their neck, or they tuck their hair back for no practical reason. Paired with warmth, smiling, leaning in, that's often nervous excitement. Your presence is activating them in a good way. The same gesture paired with a stiff posture, short answers, and little eye contact reads more like discomfort they'd rather not be sitting with. It's identical hardware, completely different message, depending on everything else happening around it. What to do? Never read one gesture alone. Zoom out, look at the whole scene, tone of voice, posture, how quickly they respond to you, before deciding what a nervous hand actually means. Context is always doing most of the talking. And number 1, the one nobody sees coming, the full body turn. Most people watch faces, but the strongest tell of all happens lower down, in how someone orients their entire torso and shoulders. Researchers in nonverbal communication call this postural orientation, and it turns out the direction someone squares their whole body toward is one of the clearest, hardest to fake indicators of genuine interest we have, because it requires effort from large muscle groups, not just a flicker of the face. A polite smile costs nothing. Physically rotating your whole upper body towards someone, again and again, across an entire evening, costs real, sustained effort. Picture a crowded café. Someone's technically facing a group conversation, but their shoulders and torso keep drifting, resetting, angling back toward one specific person over and over, like a compass that keeps finding north. That repeated reorientation, especially in a group setting where it would be easier not to bother, is one of the purest nonverbal signals of who someone is actually drawn to. Here's what to do with it. Stop scanning faces for a single smile and start watching the room for a full 10 minutes. Notice who someone's whole body keeps quietly resetting toward when they think no one's tracking it. That's not a performance. That's where their attention genuinely, physically wants to be. Here's the real lesson. No single gesture, glance, or gap in a smile tells the whole story on its own. Real emotional truth shows up in patterns. Feet, eyes, posture, attention, all pointing the same direction, again and again. Read the whole person, not one flickering clue, and always let curiosity lead you to a gentle conversation instead of a silent verdict. Now I want to know, which of these 7 have you actually caught yourself doing on a date? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. And if this helped you see dating a little more clearly, subscribe to Zara Explains Love. I've got a new one waiting for you every week.